Good morning. So this is a makeup session for our Missed Wednesday class, and we're going to cover the effects of a tariff in a large country model. So a lot of this is going to be familiar to you. Already you should see the home market. This is the market for snowplows appropriate for the day that we have. The home market for snowplows, this is the international market, and this is the row market. So this is all stuff you've seen before. I got my supply and demand curve in the home market. I made those deliberately high, and then made the intersection in the row market a little lower. That suggests a comparative advantage at row, and that sets up the opportunity for trade. Somebody's going to buy these and through arbitrage bring them into the home market if left alone. The question is how much of that's going to happen, so we figure that out by developing our demand for imports and supply of imports. We've done this a bunch of times. We find price and autarky at home. That's what I call my stepping off point, and we draw from there based on this distance as it gets wider. That's how far from the axis you go. That's demand for imports, and then this is the stepping off point here. So perhaps that looks like that, and then we know that this many units, whatever that was, maybe that's 400 units, let's call that 400 snowplows, would be traded from row, into home if this market were left alone in free trade. And then that would give us world price, and I'm going to draw that in here, trying to use a ruler so that I actually have some straight lines this time. Okay, and we hit that there. This works out pretty good because I clip all the lines going all the way across, and that red line winds up becoming PW. The law of one price gives us that, right? So that's the price of snowplows in all markets in free trade, and let's just put a number on that, and let's call that $10. Okay, so what's happened now, which we can do our welfare analysis and determine that this piece has been picked up by consumers in home, and there was a piece in here that was below PA. If I drew a PA in here, it might look a little bit like that. So below that dotted line, but above that red line, this piece right here is lost producer surplus that the consumer at home now enjoys, and the producer's left with that little piece. So they're obviously upset about that. So they lobby for a tariff or some form of protectionism. Here we're going to say it's a tariff, and they might lobby for a $2 tariff. And if we can call PA in this market $12, they lobby for a $2 tariff, and that's what we call a prohibitive tariff, right? You put $2 on top of that $10, and it brings you to 12, and you might as well be back in autarky because only the domestic producer is going to be able to service this market. So this is where it becomes different from what we've done before. This is a large market, so row producers may then say, we're willing to take a price lower than world price in order to continue to get our goods into this large home market. If this was a small market, they wouldn't be willing to do that. All the analysis we've done so far has assumed that these are small countries. Let's say home's large. If home is large, then the row producer might say, I will take a lower price. And if they do that, then we can draw a line. So instead of a $2 tariff here, well, it's still going to be a $2 tariff, but let's call this PW star. Okay? And then PW star would come across there, and PW star would also come across there. Alright? PW star. So we're going to call that PW star, and maybe that's $9. Alright? So the home government has said we're going to put a $2 tariff on top of this good. So if PW star is $9, then once you add $2 to $9, you arrive at $11, and that is what home consumers are going to pay for this good. Okay, and I can bring that line across into here. I don't need to bring it any further than that, right? And that should have lined up, but it really didn't, but that's okay. And then we're going to see that only that many units are brought in. Perhaps that's 200 units. So row producers are happy. Okay, fewer units are being brought over. They've picked up this piece in producer surplus, and that distance right there is 200. That's how many are being supplied by row producers. Now, there's one more point we need to make regarding the large market, because what we wind up seeing is that piece right there winds up being tariff revenue. The home government gets that. But the question is, who's paying it? Okay, so if we see someone go into Roe and buy these goods at PW Star and then bring them over here and then pay the $2 tariff, well, the government gets $2 per unit. And if that happens with this many units, that's 200 units, then the government collects $400, $2 tall by $200, 200 units wide. So that's $400. But who's paying it? Well, that piece is being paid by home consumers, and that is that amount. However, this piece is actually being paid by Roe producers, right? They could sell this good at PW in free trade, but they're willing to take a lower price, and that winds up being this piece, which is the same thing as this piece. Okay, that's $1 by 200 units. $1 by 200 units. Those boxes should be the same. It doesn't work out like they always say. This is not to scale. So that's $1 by 200, $1 by 200. So that's 2 by 200, which is $400. That's how much the home government makes. Where this is different, since this is a large country, is part of that revenue is being paid by the foreign producer, by the Roe producer. So hopefully that helps you with homework number 3, and that also helps you address position statement number 3. That position statement asks you, is this okay? Is it okay if large countries use their economic might, use the fact that they're large, in order to push tariff revenue onto smaller producers? You could go a couple of ways with this. You could say that you don't think that that's okay, and that they shouldn't use their economic size in order to influence activity or production or whatever you want to call it in foreign nations. Or you could say, if you're big, you should take advantage of that. And if that's true, then if you have an opportunity to make other people pay your tariffs, then you should take advantage of that. You could consider this in a welfare analysis, looking at the pieces that get taken. You know, these pieces, that piece right there, and that piece right there are still going to be dead weight loss. That's going to be the same as that. And then you could talk about how consumers either win or lose, and the Roe producer, if they win or lose too. You might give all those things some consideration when you determine that position. So that's the large country model, and that's the end of this one. I'm going to do another one where we talk in a little bit more detail about a socially optimal tariff. That's next.